All right.
Let's see here. Okay, I think we're good. Let's see. Okay, how do I do? Okay, hang on. I gotta do gallery view. Let's see. Oh, it did a different meeting. That's okay. I'll do it here. Okay, so I think we're good. Let's see. Okay, how do I do? Okay, hang on. Gotta do gallery view. Of course, I'm like delayed here. All right, hang on. Let me turn off.
It
Oh, there
says,
we go. Got it.
okay.
All right, it'll be a little delayed, but I just gotta turn off my YouTube volume. There we go. Okay. All right. You can still hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we're good. Let me just tweet out the link here. It went to a different thing, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. All righty. Let me just put it on Twitter here really quick.
Mm.
It did like a okay. Yeah, I'll figure out another time to do this since it's the first time I'm doing it. I'll wait for some people to come in here before we get started. Let me
Did you hit we're not live, are we?
We are live right
Oh, we
now.
are live. Let's
We
go.
are live right now. It went to a different okay, we got one person. We got five people in here right now. Okay, let me go to
Look at
YouTube
us.
Studio really quick. Um,
The people, what are the office people who are sitting at their desks at 10 a.m. Eastern?
yeah, exactly. Okay, hang on. I need to like go into my, it doesn't matter. Okay, we'll get that out of there. Yeah. Okay. Make sure I got the right one here. Go to it myself before okay, profile. Apologies to like the few people that are in here. I'm still trying to figure this out. This is the first time I've done a live with everyone or with just the two of us. All right, we got a couple people in here. We got um 10 people in here. All right.
I know a few
Um
people that told me they couldn't watch live, but they're going to watch it later. So,
yeah, no problem. Yeah, so apologies to everybody for the link. I this is my first time doing a dual live stream thing. And let's just say it was a little challenging trying to do it through YouTube. So I'm trying to do it through Zoom here. And I thought it would just connect to the one I'd already scheduled, but it didn't. So that's what we're doing here. So I have Anthony here with me. Welcome in, everybody. It's good to be talking to you again, Anthony. What we're going to do today is we're going to go through the weekend slate like we normally would on Wonder Goal. We're going to start off with a little title talk, a little top four talk to begin things off. We're going to go through all 10 matches. We're going to go through Europe, and we're just going to chat with you guys, and we're gonna have some fun here. This is kind of weird. It's like a wonder goal with no restrictions, Anthony. It's like we can just talk about it and just to say whatever we want.
true.
So yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. Let's see how many people we got. I don't know if I need to wait for more uh people to join. We got 15 people in here. That's probably good enough to just, start off with some title talk here. All right.
Well, I want to know
So
how you're feeling. You picked Arsenal before the season,
yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
they're in third. What are they, plus 350 now? And I actually think you added that scarf above
I
since the last
did.
time we were on a Zoom together, which
Yeah.
was maybe a month ago now. So what's the Arsenal check? Because certainly has not gone to plan.
No, but here's what I'll say. Arsenal has the easiest schedule of any team in the next 10 Premier League matches. So it's gut check time. But here's what I'll say about Arsenal. And I'll let you do your song and dance when we talk about Nottingham Forest, that match. But seems like they've run out of ideas in attack. And that's troubling. to me. I mean, it's very clear that Arsenal needs a striker. They need one badly. Seen some reports that Ishak might be coming in January. I don't think that's actually going to happen. I don't think they're, and I wouldn't if I were them, spend 100 million on Gyökeres. That's just me. But yeah, it seems like at this time it's kind of just Saka or nothing. He gets doubled a lot. Odegaard coming back obviously helps quite a bit. It takes a little bit of relief off them. If you watch the match against Chelsea, he typically likes to operate in that right half space, which frees up Saka a little bit to get into 1v1s. But yeah, the attack, they're running out of ideas. And
Yeah.
that's just kind of how it feels every single match going into it. The defense is still really good. Set pieces are still great. Um, they had one little momentary lapse against Chelsea. But yeah, as of sitting here right now, I mean, should have gotten 3 points against Liverpool, in my opinion. We had that game in control.
Let them back into it.
Yeah, the late one against City. If those two things flip, I mean, we were having a different
Probably
conversation
the
sitting here
favorite.
today. Probably the favorite, yeah. So I feel like here's the other thing about Arsenal. When I say they run out of ideas, is they're not even really trying to build out of the back anymore.
Yeah.
Like I saw a stat that 78% of goal kicks they're sending long. And the reason is that is because they played a lot of teams that press high. Like they're just like, we're not gonna just try and build out of the back. And we've seen a couple different instances, especially even when they played Tottenham, was a good example of that. When they tried to build out of the back, they actually kind of struggled, and they just kind of just said, "All right, we're just gonna play more direct, and hopefully that works." Um, which again, you play direct, you lower your ceiling, especially if you're a team like Arsenal. It's great if you're a team like Brentford or Everton or a team in the bottom of the table. I would love to see more teams play more direct,
Bournemouth,
but
our boys, my new
yeah,
boys, at
but right
least.
now I don't feel great. I'll be flat honest with you. I don't feel great about their title chances. And I don't know how you feel. I think you've already bet them, but I think this is Liverpool's title to lose.
I don't know if I would go as far as title to lose, but yeah, I mean, I bet Liverpool a few weeks ago. Uh, just never really saw the hype for Arsenal or City this year. I didn't think Liverpool would be this good this quickly under Slot, but the fact that City is out of players and Arsenal is out of ideas, like both have just come crashing down. It hasn't been, I mean, Liverpool's point total is incredible so far, but their performances aren't like, this is not Liverpool of 2020. This is not City of 2021 or 2022 when Liverpool got 97. Like, I know they're on pace for, I think, 97, 98, but they're not playing at that level, right? So this is just the top of the Premier League is kind of taken a step back from what it's been in this super team era. And Liverpool are just kind of profiting off of it because they're doing just enough to win a lot of these games. It has not been like domination from Liverpool. I mean, if you go look at some of their wins, Brighton, like they were hardly dominant. You mentioned the Arsenal game, the Chelsea game, they won, but they weren't dominant in that game. It was pretty roughly even. So there's all kinds of things, but I think Liverpool rightfully favored. If I had to bet, and if I think I said this a few weeks ago on our show, like if you have to pick a team to get more points rest of the season, would you take Arsenal or City? I would take Arsenal.
I would too.
I think City's in that much peril, and we'll get into it when we get
Mhm.
into their game. Probably not as much. We'll see this weekend, but I think City's in some deep shit here.
I think they are too. I think that two fronts. So number one, like their midfield is just old at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that they don't have Rodri and they don't really have like a stable midfield in terms of ball stopping. I mean, you've seen it. Every team has beaten them in transition. Every single team. It doesn't really matter who it is. Somebody has caused a lot of problems for them. So they've been trying to like be more aggressive with their pressing. Like you watch them against Brighton, they played a very, very high line, and Brighton exposed them quite a bit, numerous like again and again and again, especially in the second half. And when their press, I mean, I'll double check the numbers right now, but I think so they are turning opponents over in dangerous areas at the highest rate, which tells me they're being very aggressive with their pressing. But
But
they're like ninth in passes per defensive action. I think they're like 11th or something in that range of in terms of build up completion percentage allowed. So the press is just like it's pretty much as bad as it was last year, but now they're just older and they don't have Rodri and they don't have cover. So that's a massive problem for them. And Obviously they're going to score goals and with Holland and everybody. But yeah, this is my thinking, Anthony. I want to get your thoughts on it. I know you've already bet Liverpool, but I was able to figure out how to run Monte Carlo simulations, and I ran a
Ooh,
couple 2 nights ago, and I have Liverpool at minus 115 to win the league right now, and they're sitting at plus 125. They have Real Madrid in the Champions League, right? Correct, I believe in the midweek, and then they play at home against City next weekend. They have
post
Southampton this
Thanksgiving,
week
yeah.
on Thanksgiving. I'm trying to make the decision right now because I'm going to bet Liverpool to win the title at some point. I believe. I believe. Do I make this? I'm thinking I need to make the decision now and bet them now at plus 125, even though they have those two difficult matches coming up, which like normal sense would tell you like no, just wait. But I did that. I said before Wonderful went into the grave. I did say that Liverpool had this really difficult stretch coming up where they had to play Arsenal, they had to play Brighton, they had to play Aston Villa, they had to play Leverkusen, they had to play all these difficult teams in a row, which, and then Real
They
Madrid,
won every game
and
except
they won every game.
Arsenal.
So now I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so that didn't work. So now I'm at a point where I'm like, should I just do it now? Like it didn't work before. I know my luck. It'll just be like they'll lose like three straight and City will overtake things. Another front I want to mention, and I'm done speculating on what's going to happen with what's happening off the field with these points
Oh,
deductions.
I don't even care anymore. People keep talking to me like, "Oh, you think City's gonna?" I'm like, I believe that when I see it. I'll adjust
They have a
after.
court date. I'll say that they have a court date. That is at least like something, right? And the other thing though is like Pep signed a 1 year extension. I don't
That
think
was
he would sign a.
surprising to me.
That was surprising to me as well. I heard somebody say, and it makes sense, right? Since he knows that City is not good this season, he knows that without Rodri that this is they're not going to win the league or they're not going to compete like they have been. So he doesn't want this to be the farewell season and have things go on a sour note. He
Yeah,
wants to
finished
get Rodri
fourth.
back,
Yeah,
and yeah, exactly, and go at the league one more time next year. So that I heard that and I was like, all right, that makes sense. But I'm also like, he wouldn't he wouldn't sign an extension if he like didn't know if they were getting a points deduction or not. So that would be
exactly.
my
I don't think he's
so
too worried about it.
I don't think he's too worried about it either. Yeah. So okay. So top four. So in terms of title, I think I am going to bet Liverpool at plus 125. I'll post it on Twitter for those out there who wants to know the decision. I'm gonna go look into it a little bit more today. Here's the thing, Anthony. We'll get into it with the matches, but if Liverpool beats Southampton like they should, and City drops their bogey team again, it's like okay, then Liverpool's definitely gonna be probably minus money to win the league would be my guess.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll be fascinated to see how Liverpool approaches the Champions League this week because they already have 12 points. And so now in this format, the one thing that it does grant you is if you are really successful early, you can kind of deprioritize them a little bit right now because I mean the gap is tiny, but they have a full 4 point gap on Atalanta, who's currently ninth, and a
mhm,
5 point gap on City, who's 10th, just in the Champions League table. So does Liverpool say, hey, like I know it's Liverpool Real Madrid at Anfield. It's a huge game in terms of revenge after what
mhm.
Liverpool's had no success against them in the Champions League the last 5 years. But um, for them, it's like, hey, we can go all in for City and kind of rotate a little bit in the midweek, and it doesn't really matter if we lose because like you look at their remaining schedule, and it would take something crazy to happen for them to not finish in the top eight. I mean, they have
Yeah.
Girona, Lille, and Eindhoven, so it's not easy, but those none of those games are like a real challenge. They've already played their three toughest games besides Real Madrid. They played Leverkusen, Leipzig, and Milan and beat all of them. So I kind of think Liverpool's in a spot where they might, and I might even look to play against them with Real Madrid on Tuesday.
Mhm.
I think it's Tuesday. Uh, yeah,
What
Tuesday.
is that? What is that line? I've not. I apologize to everybody out there. I haven't looked at the Champions League. I'll mention to everybody. I am going to do a Champions League live stream. Probably Monday night would be my guess. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
one of them.
it's. Let's see. What are they? So this is the beauty about the live stream, Anthony, is we can just like pause and it doesn't matter. Um,
Tell the producer to cut
yeah,
the
tell the producer to cut. I'm the producer. I don't know how to cut it, so too bad. Liverpool is they're minus 106 against Real Madrid. Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, probably be on Madrid there.
Yeah, I'll probably be on Madrid too. So yeah, that's title talk. I would say that I would if you're somebody out there who hasn't already bet Liverpool, I know a lot of people already have. I would say now is probably the time to get in. If you want to wait, they do travel to Newcastle and then to Everton, their next two Premier League matches, and the trip to Newcastle is in a midweek situation, so that's kind of difficult. So yeah, that's like yeah,
It's a tough-ish stretch, right? Real Madrid,
toughish. Yeah,
City,
it's like
Newcastle in 8 days.
right, exactly. So okay, that's title talk. A little top four talk. Do you think Arsenal's in peril for top four? Because I don't really think.
No, no,
I
no.
think they're pretty
I mean, who's
safe.
good enough to pass them?
Uh,
There's only
nobody.
one team right now, in my view, with the ceiling to catch the top three.
Nottingham Forest.
Yes. No, Chelsea.
No, it's yeah,
I'm at least Chelsea curious. I bet them this weekend.
yeah.
Get into that game in a minute, but I mean, the attacking upside is just so much higher than everybody else in that stretch of teams, and that's what I said. Like their defense, we'll see, but if you have the ability to score that many goals, then you can just kind of outscore your problems to get top four. I don't know if you can win the league doing that. I don't think they can, but in terms of just the quality of attackers, like Spurs are a fun team. Ange Ball is great to watch. It's entertaining. You really never know what's going to happen week to week. But like Brennan Johnson, Dom Solanke, Kulisevsky, they're good players. They're fine, but they're not Madueke. They're not Palmer. They're not Nico Jackson.
Hmm.
The numbers are totally there's a huge gulf in the numbers there. So for them to make up for that is really hard, especially with Villa. Like Watkins had a career year for them to get fourth last year. I don't think that's going to happen again. And Duran scores every time he comes off the bench, but otherwise, like those are probably the closest contenders. And it's like I don't think so. So I kind of think top four is done. And it sounds crazy to say, but I kind
Yeah.
of think it would surprise me a lot if it was not Chelsea in the top four.
The one team I would say right now that I have value on, and it's slim. Uh,
Spurs.
no.
Oh,
I have
Newcastle.
Spurs. I have Spurs at no. Well, I have Newcastle like right on line where they're at. I have Newcastle. So here's my top four. Obviously, Arsenal, City, and Liverpool are my ginormous, but Chelsea plus 130. I don't have them minus money. Tottenham plus 540. Newcastle same price. Brighton plus 615, and they're 7-1 right now. So Brighton would be the team if I were to bet a top, and it's very slim. Like it's not a lot of value, if I'll be flat honest. But
Right.
I actually like Brighton a lot, and I think that especially this weekend's match against Bournemouth is gonna be crazy. But yeah, for top four, if I were to bet anything right now, Brighton 7-1, I think is your so shop around. I'm just on Bet365 right now. I haven't shopped around to the other books to see what they are. So if you can find a better price on that, you may get a little bit of value on Brighton. They obviously have to travel to Bournemouth this weekend, which is a very difficult test. But coming up, they actually have a pretty easy schedule coming up. They play Southampton, Fulham, Leicester, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Brentford, Aston Villa, and then Arsenal to begin the new year. So they've obviously already played Tottenham, City, Newcastle, Chelsea, Liverpool,
Held up
Arsenal.
well
They've
in
already
those
played all the
games.
big boys. So,
Got a point at Arsenal, beat City,
yep,
beat Spurs,
exactly. Um, yeah,
lost
I mean,
close to
their
Liverpool.
only losses this season are to Chelsea and Liverpool, and they were pretty good at Liverpool too. Um, so So yeah, if I were to bet a team, I think Herzler's Brighton is great. We'll talk about them more. All right, let's just get right into the matches here. Um, so this is gonna be just like Wonder Goal. Go through all 10 matches. We'll go through Europe. I'm gonna try to, I don't want this to go too long, so we're gonna try to run through Europe maybe a little quicker than I normally would. But let's kick things off there with the big one, City
The big
Tottenham.
one.
City versus their bogey team. Uh, City's minus 200, Tottenham's plus 475, and the draw is plus 350. Totals at 3.5, 3.5 straight. Um, I think the line's right, if I'm being honest. If I were
I
to play
agree.
anything, I think if you're gonna play anything, just take a shot on Tottenham money line. Um, again, I would have loved Tottenham plus 1.5 here. We're not gonna get it. I would have
Last year we
loved
would have.
Last year I would have loved.
Last year we did
Uh,
actually. Funny
we
enough,
did,
I
yeah.
was it was right around this time last year. It was
It
early
was, and
December,
they drew him 3-3. I wasn't Todd. I
3-3.
think Tottenham was like really short. Yeah, that was when Van de Ven and Romero were both out, I believe. And they had to play, gosh, Emerson Royale and Ben Davies as the center back pairing. I remember that. Um,
They were up
but
1-0 inside 5 minutes in
yeah.
classic Spurs City fashion. Yeah.
Now Spurs have beaten City already once this year in the FL Cup. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, but I'm pretty sure City did not. Or they at least subbed some guys out or didn't really play their highest strength lineup.
They didn't have, I mean, they haven't had any, I mean, they've had to play
Yeah.
a makeshift group for the last, so it was a tough spot. And I understand now, like, it kind of didn't occur to me in the moment, but City played 4 straight away games against good teams,
Hmm.
right? Heading into the break. They needed the break. And they got, so Spurs away, Bournemouth away, Sporting away, Brighton away. And honestly, like, deserved to lose all those matches, or at least tie. They didn't deserve to win any of them. Now they come home, and I get it. Everybody wants to bet against City. There really isn't value in the number, but I kind of want to do it anyway.
I know.
Spurs are so volatile. Every week it's a
They
different
are.
story, and they've had performances where they've looked awful, like Palace away and Ipswich home, and then they've had performances where they look awesome. I mean, I thought they played really well in the first match against City, which was at home. They've had drubbings of Brentford, and uh, so I kind of come down on this saying like it has to be Spurs or nothing.
Yeah, I
If
agree.
you a money line is worth a shot, maybe you look at like a plus a half,
Hmm.
because they've also always matched up well with Holland. Romero has seemed to be up for the challenge of defending Erling Holland.
Yeah, I agree. Well, a lot of teams are just doubling Holland now, which is,
Easy.
it's easy to do, right? And essentially and I tweeted this out a while ago, and I kind of want to go look it up, Anthony. I made the question. I said, is City too reliant on Holland? I know he's the best striker in the world,
Yep,
uh,
they are.
but what I'm saying is are they getting any production from anybody anywhere else? Last season, if you compare it, they at least had Julian Alvarez as like that secondary striker who gave them quite a bit of production. Well,
And Phil
now
Foden
and
was
Phil
player
Foden
of
as
the year.
well. Yeah, player of the year. He went crazy. But like even looking at just like raw total expected goals this season, Holland's got 11 of City's 22. That's half of their production. And I get it. Like he's their best striker, but if you look around, it's not like nobody else is above 2 expected goals this year. Savio is not above 2, De Bruyne, nobody else. So the question is if you double Holland, are you really going to put yourself in that much peril against City? Foden has been out of the lineup here and there, right? He's only played 5.190s this season. So if he gets back into form, of course, like City has that extra gear. But I don't know if you've noticed this, but like kind of what's happening a lot, and this is just like Pep ball, but it's just like a overload the middle to isolate and get Savio or whether it be Grealish or Doku into 1v1s. And they're just kind of they're either getting a cross in there, or it's in some instances, but a lot of times it's just like cut inside and take a shot from outside the box. And those are low quality chances, like overall. And that's just going to continue to happen. So, um, I mean, yeah, even if just looking at straight goals, Gvardiol and
Yeah,
Kovacic
that's what I
both
was going
have
to say.
three. Yeah, they both have three. So,
Gvardiol,
yeah,
Stones, and Kovacic are the only players besides Holland with multiple goals for City this year in the league.
yeah. And I said this before the season. Guy, I mean, he's a machine. But if Holland misses any time for any type of instance, City is absolutely cooked. They have nobody. They have no striker behind him. So they're done. They're so reliant on him being healthy, and they have a lot of matches to play. So yeah,
You mentioned the Pep tinkering, and that's what I
yeah,
think it is. And usually this is what happens. November, December, it's like Pep tinkers. He tries different things. Sometimes doesn't make sense. They lose a game here and there. They never lose 4 in a row. And they usually have different options. I mean, I'm looking at the injury report right now. Grealish 50%, Foden 50%, Ake, Akanji, Nunez, Doku, Stones, all listed as like questionable slash doubtful for this weekend. I mean, that's like half the team. And honestly, they don't have the depth this year for Pep to like pull off another miracle. So yeah, I've am shockingly out on City. And I mean, famously on our show, we used to joke about it. It's like, all right, when are we going to bet City? Wait,
Yeah.
when's the moment that they're going to go on the big run? The last 2 years has been
I don't
historic.
think it's happening at
I
all
don't
this
think it's happening
season.
at all this year.
I don't think they
And if
can
they
pull
prove
that
me
off.
wrong, I'm going to be very upset as a Liverpool title
Yeah.
backer, but I really don't think we're getting to that point.
And that's what I'm thinking, like, especially going back to the title thing, is like I already have a lot of money invested in Arsenal, right? So if I really don't believe in
Two
City and
straight
I don't,
years for you.
right, exactly. If I don't believe that they're really going to beat if City's out, like I should be playing Liverpool right now because it's going to be one of the two, in my opinion. So that's kind of my thinking about it.
Yeah, Spurs
So
plus one
yeah.
in money line for me. A
Okay.
little lean to the over, but
Yeah.
don't really trust anybody
I'll
besides Haaland to score. So
here's what I'll be interested to see. I think something interesting to watch. If you watch City, they scored early against Brighton, so they played more of a mid block and they didn't press as much as they normally do. And they played that high line. Tottenham, I saw same stat that I was looking at where it said Arsenal's gone 78% long from goal kicks. Tottenham has gone
I
0%
was gonna
long.
say it's like 5%. Yeah, it's fun to
Zero.
watch.
Literally have not gone long once.
But City's press isn't
Um,
good. Like you said, they'll turn them over, but they're giving up. And this is the stat I said on our show. They have given up the highest XG per shot in the league.
yep.
Worse than Ipswich, worse than Southampton. I mean, that is all the only stat you need to tell me before I'm like, yeah, this team is in trouble. Direct
Right.
attacks, it's just terrible. So, all right,
Yep. All right, so that's Tottenham and City. That's the big one.
we like the dog. What a shock.
We like the dog. Well, yeah, so shocking. I loved when people there was a comment, Anthony, that I remember somebody gave us on Wondergoal. They gave us a 1-star review, and their complaint was is we're trying too hard to be sharps,
Yes.
which I enjoyed that
Sometimes
comment.
that's true.
Sometimes that's true. Yeah. Sometimes we don't just we just need to
When
lay
we
them.
when we bet against the best teams every week, it does get a little it
It
does
does
feel
get yeah, it does get a bit
the numbers
taxing.
start like
Yeah.
shaking on the screen, and I'm wondering what I'm
Yeah.
looking at. Like, wait, no, I bet who did I bet again? Oh, Burnley.
Yeah,
Oh shit.
exactly. All right, let's move on to the Maresca Bowl at 7:30 a.m. Eastern time.
I will not be watching this
Leicester.
one,
I'm not watching this
but
one
I do
either.
have money on it.
You do? Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna because I have nothing. Okay, Leicester's 5-1. Chelsea's now up to minus 200. The draw is at plus 350. Total is about 3.25. Over three is like minus 135 in that range. Over 3.5 is plus 120. So 3.25. I got nothing here. Um, I'm interested to hear what you have to say because this is another case, I think, with Chelsea trying to break down a low block, which I'm not still completely sold on they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, so I think Chelsea has taken a bunch of money here now that I'm looking at the line, minus 205-ish. So a little less inclined to lay the goal and a quarter, but I did lay -1, minus 114 early in the week.
Hmm.
Don't mind chasing a price here. I really don't like this Leicester team at all. In fact, I think they're quite terrible.
Hmm.
If you go look, like some of their goals this year, they've come from like the most like
Oh yeah.
lucky bounces. It's been crazy. Their overall XG production is terrible, and that's really it. Like if you can hit a team in the counter, you can. If you have a good transition attack, I think you can have success. But that has not been Leicester, and they're at like 1 XG per match, and they're giving up uh, basically two. So they're a full -1 uh, per 90 once you account for schedule. Which, by the way, their schedule has not been hard.
No.
They have not played Chelsea, Liverpool, or City in this run here, this first half of the season, or Brighton or Newcastle. So you're looking at like 5 of the top 8, 9 in the league. They didn't play them. So this is going to get a lot tougher for them. And I really don't think they're good at all. Even their
I
wins
agree.
this year were come from behind against Southampton and hold on for dear life against Bournemouth. So I like the Blues. I think the Blues are going to become a little bit of a flat track bully that will struggle against the mid table because the mid table have the good transition attackers to punish them
Hmm.
because they are still a little flawed defensively.
I mean, listen, starting Jordan Ayew and Jamie Vardy up top
It's crazy.
is not going to work. I
I mean, this
don't
is like
get
six,
it.
7 years ago. These guys were
I
good.
know, and like I get it. Like
Ayu even debatable.
Buonanotte, Fatwa, like these are decent wingers that can like cause some problems. That's not a big deal. But like we've seen Edouard at Crystal Palace, we've seen Jordan Ayew, we've seen Jamie Vardy. Like it's just not going to happen with these guys. So yeah, that's it. I mean, Leicester is they're second to last in non-penalty expected goals per 90 minutes, 19th in box entries. And here's the thing that really gets me. You know, I love final third to box entry conversion rate. If you're a team like Leicester that doesn't hold a lot of possession and you're mainly playing in transition, you need to be good at converting those final third entries into box entries. 19th.
Right.
That's how it's
Transition numbers
horrible.
are terrible. Yeah.
It's terrible. So yeah, I agree with you. If you want to lay all Chelsea -1.5 right now, go ahead and do it. I have Chelsea like -170-ish in that range. So
It's where they
I
opened. They've been
yes,
steamed.
I missed the opening number and now I'm just like, whatever, and just let it go and sleep in. So yeah, that's Chelsea and Leicester. All right, let's talk about Arsenal. Um,
Getting steamed this week.
They're -275. Forest is +850. The draw is +375. Totals my 2.5, -125. Unders even money. The total was 3. It's been rightly bet.
Hilarious.
It's been right.
I
I
saw you
tweeted
tweet
out.
that and I was like, oh, that must be this weekend. I was like, oh no. I was like, oh,
No,
it
it
must be
was
next
like that's why I
weekend.
said really early. I was like,
And
this is
then
a
you were like,
month
oh, it's
away.
after the international break. I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's like, I just saw it. I just saw the total. Now,
Bad line. Yeah.
I'll screenshot it and I'll send it to you. But they actually did open 3 at even money.
Oh no, I saw that.
Yeah, and I bet
I
it.
got about $38 on it. So there you go.
Yeah, I was just like, I bet it, and then I was
Bet
like,
Rivers was like, we'll give you
I
38.
forgot to tweet. Yeah, I forgot to tweet it out, and so I just came back the next day, and it had already been like steamed like heavily. So, but there was still 3 out there, so I still tweeted it out. But yeah, now I would not take the total now. It's right where it should be. Um,
Still kind of like the under, just in principle, but
yeah, I now in this instance I like Forest +1.5. Here's the thing. When I say Arsenal's out of ideas, so one of the reasons Forest is so good is they're really good in that 4-2-4 mid block that they play. And the one team that played the 4-2-4 against Arsenal, now Chelsea varied their shape a little bit against Arsenal. They didn't really play a straight 4-2-4. It was a little bit different in certain instances. But Liverpool played a straight 4-2-4 against Arsenal. And what Arsenal continually kept trying to do was moving Havertz to essentially right mid into that little pocket of space and like forcing McAllister to make a decision on whether he like would pull out and which would create space through the middle. And what that also did is it got Saka into 1v1 with Robertson. And that's how Arsenal scored their first goal, as they got into a direct ball over the top. But here's the problem right now is when you move your striker to right mid, you have nobody in the middle to invert and really cause teams any problems. And the Arsenal injury list is growing right now. Ben White's going to be out till the beginning of the year. Saka, I'm guessing he'll play. He's 50-50. Declan Rice has a broken toe, and they just keep giving him pain injections, which I'm like, are you just delaying the inevitable? So I don't know if he is going to play. Calafiori and Tomiyasu are both out. Looks like Leandro Trossard is now going to be out after picking up an injury with Belgium over the international break. So Arsenal's really limping in here.
who's
And
playing fullback for Arsenal this weekend?
that's so what I was thinking about is um let me double check if he's going to be available. But yeah, because typically what they would do is they would just move Thomas Partey to right back. And he's done it. He's done it a number of times, which is not a big deal. But what I would do is, if I were Arsenal, is Jurrien Timber can go play right back. He's done it many times before, and I would bring in Kiwior and I would play him at left back. I think that would be give your best. That way you can allow Party and Moreno now to play a double pivot if Declan Rice is not available, which I would. Again, I think Arsenal is just kind of delaying the inevitable with a broken foot or broken
Broken
toe.
toe, broken toe. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
excuse
have
me,
to.
it's a toe. Um,
It feels like a
so
tough thing to play soccer at a professional level with, but
yeah, and Odegaard's back obviously
which
helps
toe
Arsenal.
maybe
Yeah,
matters. If it's like a pinky
yeah.
toe, maybe you can.
Right.
Big
I'm
toe
not,
might be
I have no
tougher.
idea what toe it is. But yeah, Odegaard being back obviously helps Arsenal. But I mean, Forest is so difficult to break down. Like they just really are. I mean, I've been over it many times, but they are allowing the third fewest expected goals behind Arsenal and Liverpool. They have the second best final third to box entry conversion rate allowed. They're allowing the most final third entries of anybody. They're incredibly passive, but they're so difficult to play at the middle. When I say Arsenal's out of ideas, they're they're just going to have to like either send in crosses. They're not going to be able to overload the middle. Forrest is going to do a great job at making sure Saka doesn't get into 1v1 situations. So it's like, how is Arsenal covering and scoring, covering this type of spread, right? Like I don't really see it.
Set
So
pieces.
what's
Always
that?
the answer. Always the answer. The set
Yeah.
pieces.
Set pieces. That's right. Well,
Forest have been
that's the
better
thing
this
about
year.
set. Yeah, Forest is the number one set piece defense in the league. So that's the
Yeah,
other
which
problem.
is, I mean, the opposite was true last year. They were the worst.
Yeah. Now they have a goalkeeper who can save shots.
That's debatable.
I mean, he's at least at like
So
base.
far, he
All they needed
has
was like a
saved
base level
shots.
keeper.
Yeah, he's been perfectly fine. Matt
Yeah.
Sells, the
Yeah.
solution to all of 32-year-old Matt Sells,
Right.
saving Nottingham Forest. I think the Liverpool tape is kind of what this is. If you go back and look at what Liverpool had against Forest, they couldn't get anything through the middle. And the point at the time was that Liverpool has problems with central creation. But maybe it was that Forest is just really good. All
Hmm.
right. And defensively, at least. And like the thing with Forest is like, do I really believe Chris Wood can keep up scoring every game in transition and doing this crazy stuff? Probably not. But uh, I don't know. The number here is a little high, but I do feel like at some point Arsenal is going to have one of those big games. But like you said, they haven't shown it to us yet. So why should we just assume it's going to happen?
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I'll be on Forest plus 1.5 at minus 114. Or excuse me, let's see. Let me get it updated. Plus 1.5. It's up to minus 130-ish in that range. Yeah, I've already bet Forest plus 1.5, minus 114. But I don't see how Arsenal's covering this one. I mean, Forest is just really good, and the market, I think, just continues to undervalue Forest week in
It
and week
started to
out.
move toward them a little. I mean, I went back and looked like so Liverpool closed -2 against Forest. Now it's one and a
Hmm.
half against Arsenal.
Yeah,
Arsenal's priced better than Liverpool was early in the season. So if you just do like if they're getting some market respect here, like they closed a favorite against Newcastle, which I
they
would
did.
most people would have laughed at before the season. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've bet this team almost every week, so I'm inclined to do it again.
Yep. Me too. So, yeah, if you missed the under, I think Forest plus 1.5 is the way to go here. All right, let's move on. Villa and Crystal Palace. I have nothing here. My numbers are telling me to bet Palace, but that would be if Palace was actually at full strength. And as of right now, Kamada, Wharton, Hughes, Lerma, Eze, Nikita are
Yeah, the
all
whole
out.
team is out.
The whole team is out.
Part of me likes Villa, to be honest with
Weird.
you, but
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lay it with Villa in this type of uh, instance because yeah, Villa's got a lot of injuries to deal with as well. They have Ross Barkley's out, Matty Cash is out, Kamara's 50-50, Pau Torres is 50-50, Kantz is 50-50.
this
Yeah,
is the
it's
the classic post international break challenge
yeah,
because we have not heard from the managers. Usually by
that's
now,
right.
like in the rhythm of the week, there's press conferences where they give updates on who might play and who might not. Because everybody's away or like the teams aren't playing, you're not getting that to the same level. And so we're kind of just flying in the dark here on a lot of this. But
Right,
I mean, the thing with
exactly.
Villa here, so Palace has tried to be frenetic. They've tried to be a pressing team, just like muddy up the game. They're kind of Hasenhüttl Southampton-esque in
Hmm.
that way. And they stink at it, quite frankly.
Yeah, they're
And
really
Villa
bad.
is so good at picking apart bad presses. That's where
Hmm.
they're at their best. Like they're just going to be able to play through the pressure and generate a couple of big chances a game. Uh, to the point where I kind of like Villa here, to be honest.
Yeah, and the other thing is, that's a good point. Here's the thing: is if Palace, listen, when Palace sits in that 5-3-2 and they just like sit in, they're actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
Like they're very good at defending crosses. They got a great final third to box entry conversion rate allowed. Um, the one thing I'll mention is if you do like Villa, Villa is the number one set piece team right now in terms of XG per set piece, and Crystal Palace for like the seventh straight season is horrible at defending set pieces.
It's been
So
a weird issue because they have tall guys.
they do.
You would
Like
think
Gay is a
in
great aerial
heavy.
threat. Like Lacroix, the guy they brought in, is a big guy in there as well. Chris Richards, like they have big guys that can defend those. But
In
yeah,
theory, but they can't.
in
Yeah.
theory, but yeah. You mentioned Palace's press ninth in pass per defensive action, for which for Palace is not bad, but turning opponents over in dangerous areas 16th. So yeah,
Yeah. It's just that they're not getting anything from it. They're doing it. They're getting some turnovers. They're not like terrible at forcing issues, but they're not profiting off of what
no,
the
they're
the
not
point
at
of the
all.
press is. They're not getting the benefits from it.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, nothing really here from us. If you want to lay with Villa, you want to put them in money line parlay with something, to just to get it down to a better price. It's not bad. All right, let's move on. This is a fun one. Bournemouth
Yes.
Brighton. This is really fun.
I think your bet's the right one, but not the
Yeah,
one I'm
I,
going to
I
make.
I've been going back and forth on a lot of things on this one. Bournemouth plus 135, Brighton's 2-1. The draw is at plus 240. Total is sitting at 3 even money. I like
Hmm.
both teams to score an over 2.5 and minus 120. So uh one of our good friend, I'm not calling him a good friend. I've acquaintance, John McKenzie tweeted this out after, because like Bournemouth was completely dominating Brentford like early on in that match, and he showed the momentum chart, and it was like how to tell you have a game state problem. And so I went and looked, because like things just completely turned once Bournemouth went up 1-0. Bournemouth this season, uh, in when they are leading, I'll just do it. When they're leading by one goal, they are they've spent and it's been 143 minutes, so it's not like that. It's been no time. They're conceding 2.69 expected goals per 90. They are conceding. It's just that's really really
A little
bad.
scary for somebody who bet Bournemouth this weekend.
Yeah, so that's why I like both teams scoring over 2.5. I think this is just you have two teams that, especially Bournemouth, that is going to really try and put the pressure on Brighton. And Brighton is a very good build-up team. Like, I don't think people realize how good they actually are. I mean, Herzler, with his system, he's always able to get either a 5v4 or 5v3, but bringing the goalkeeper out through that first phase. And dare I say, Anthony, a little bit Deserby-esque
Oh,
of what he's trying to do.
is that good or
It's
bad?
like if you remember peak Deserby of what it was is
Yes.
bait the press, get through the first line, and create the transition opportunity. What happened was his teams figured that out, and they're just like, low block, you can't do anything, and that's where Deserby struggled. Herzler is a little different, where I think he has a lot more ideas when he's playing against these low block type of teams. But again, this is not going to matter in this type of match because Bournemouth's not going to sit in. Obviously, at home, they're going to come out and press. But it's going to be very back and forth. I looked last night. Brighton has only had two matches this season where both teams have not created at least one expected goal. It was the first match week against Everton and then against Ipswich, which Ipswich just sat in and they just, tried to play for a draw. Other than that, it's been very back and forth. Brighton obviously likes to play a very high line. Same thing with Bournemouth. So, but the one thing when I was going back, I went back and watched the Brentford and Bournemouth match. Brentford, the third goal that they scored was eerily similar to a lot of chances that Brighton got against City, where they got a 3v2 out wide and Wissa made a run off the back line. And just looked so eerily similar to like two or three runs that João Pedro made in the second half against City. And I think that's going to happen quite a bit here against Bournemouth. Now, the flip side of it obviously is Bournemouth is a team that is very versatile, which they can build to the back and they can play direct. Like even Nielsen was a great signing for them because playing in that Porto system, he's very used to like receiving a lot of those direct balls over the top. And with Porto dominating possession in the Portuguese league, he's obviously very in tune of playing build up as well. So him being able to get a lot of those direct balls over the top is big for them. So I like both teams to score an over 2.5 at minus 120. The Dabbundo special.
Yes.
Every time I would say that I want to go after you left, I always wanted to say Dabbundo playbook, but you weren't there to be it. So yeah, so I like that. So you like Bournemouth here, which I don't mind. Like I think I have this projected pretty close in line with where the market is. But I'm interested to hear why you like Bournemouth.
Yeah, I think Brighton's defense is kind of bad, and I think it's going to get
I
exposed.
agree.
So like you mentioned the stat about the giving up a ton of chances. It is a tiny, tiny sample, but it's certainly like Bournemouth is built to play one way, and when they change how they're playing and try to lower the intensity of it, their defense is not built to hold up under pressure. Maybe
Mhm.
I don't know. All the theories on
I
like why that is don't really make a ton of sense
Here,
to me.
here's my thinking, and this is what I kind of noticed because when I went back, I wanted to go back and rewatch after knowing that. I don't think they really didn't really sit back against Brentford. They just kept coming. Like they just like yeah, the intensity actually ratcheted up a little bit, and Brentford stopped trying to build it at the back, and they just played direct, and they
which I
got
would give as more of a credit to Brentford than like a knock
yeah,
on
no, that's a
Bournemouth,
credit.
right?
So I
So
think if you're asking like why that's happening, I think that maybe is more of an instance of like, hey, teams are like, let's stop trying to build out of the back. We're down, let's just try to play more direct, and maybe Bournemouth has a little bit more trouble defending those balls.
yeah, so I took some Bournemouth money line here. I actually think they're better than Brighton, and this is kind of a wild thing for me to say. I mean, we've been at Brighton podcast, but like the last year and a half, it hasn't really been. Brighton are just like a normal mid-table team now to a large extent. Like they can pull off an
Hmm.
upset here and there, but there's nothing in their profile to me now that is exciting because they don't take away quality shots at all. They give you a ton, and
Hmm.
their XG per shot allowed is up there with some of the worst teams. They're up there with Ipswich and Southampton and City. Like they're in that tier of teams that are just not teams I want to bet on. So
Yeah.
Bournemouth I have rated a smidge better than Brighton, and honestly, like XG wise, Bournemouth has been better than Brighton to this point by
Hmm.
an even wider margin, right? So like before the season, Brighton better than Bournemouth marginally. Now at this point, like with Bournemouth putting in the 10 matches, 11 matches they did, and then Brighton kind of getting knocked down, it's actually a little bit of a gap. And you throw in home field, I have this closer to plus 115. So I'm
Okay.
I'm on the cherries again. And I bet Bournemouth pretty much every week. Let me see here. I'm pulling up the schedule. How many times have I bet Bournemouth this season? Because I think obviously like there are certain teams every year where we come in and we're like, hey, we're probably going to be on this team a lot.
Yeah.
This year it's been Bournemouth and Forest for me, but my internet is being slow. So Bournemouth. Anyway, while that loads, it's just been a team that I've been on a lot this year,
Yeah.
and
I have
I
too.
suspect that to continue if they're going to continue to be.
Right. I mean, I bet them against Southampton. I bet them against Leicester. I didn't bet them against Arsenal. I bet them against Villa. I'm pretty sure I bet them against. I don't think I bet them against City. And then I
I
took.
actually passed on them against Villa, which was annoying. Had them
Yeah,
against
I had them.
Arsenal.
Yeah, they were
I had
terrible against.
them. Did I have them against City? I don't remember. Oh yeah, they were plus one against City. That was a horrible line.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Southampton, Liverpool, Chelsea. Yeah, I mean they honestly like the funniest thing about this is they actually are better than their numbers. Like they're
Yep.
in a decent position in the table. They've been better than those stats would suggest.
Right.
Yeah, I've been on them at least 5 or 6 times.
Bournemouth futures are looking pretty good right now.
I'm still wondering how I didn't cash last year.
Yeah, I
The
know,
top
I
four
know,
ticket
dude.
or
I know.
top half 7-1 that
Top
I bet
half. I know. I
preseason.
remember that.
Forgot
Yeah.
about when they lost like six straight or eight straight to start the
I
season.
know. It's
Should have
crazy.
got there, but yeah, no,
Yep.
Bournemouth's good.
Okay, let's move on to this is like a Wonder Goal derby here. Everton
Ah,
Brentford.
I hate this game.
I do too. Everton West Ham was like the most boring match that I've like ever seen. I had both teams to score in that match, and both teams created about one expected goal, but it was horrible.
Yeah, neither team felt like they deserved to score in that
Yeah, it was just
game.
like it was just one of those after halftime. It was like this is just isn't happening. Everton's came down a little bit. Plus 145. Brentford plus 187. Draw plus 240. Over 2.5 is at minus 110, and that is what I like here. I like over two and
Stoppable
a half.
force versus movable object.
I know it's the
The
thing with
Brentford defense,
Brentford.
which can't stop anybody anymore. They give up goals for fun
Yeah,
against
I
the Everton
know.
attack, which is still a disaster. I mean, you watch them, anything but set pieces is a train
Yep,
wreck.
I know. Well, here's the thing that I'm thinking about is so one of the theories why, or the reason I liked both teams to score in West Ham and Everton was I was like, all right, West Ham is trying to build out of the back more. Everton's, high block is still forcing a lot of turnovers. Like they're still a very good pressing team, but West Ham just went full David Moyes and they just went so direct against Everton, which just ended up turning it into like a bad match. But Brentford, if you watch them at all under Thomas Frank this season, they are really, really trying to be a team that can control matches and build out of the back. And if they do that here against Everton, which I think they might, I think they will. Now they are on the road, so you might see them play maybe a little bit more direct. But if they do, I think that they are in a world of hurt. So they're doing a little bit better at not turning it over. Like they're 11th in losing possession dangerously. Like they were dead last in that category quite a while ago. Um, But Everton is turning opponents over at the fourth highest rate. They're still fifth in ball recoveries. Like they're still a very good pressing team, even though they're technically not pressing. They're just, they're turning opponents over in like the mid high block situation because they're 20th in passes per defensive action. But yeah, Brentford, like you said, is just giving up goals for fun right now. Like they're conceding the most shots and the most box entries of anybody, like 19th and final third of box entry conversion rate allowed. You'd like or excuse me, 18th.
Used to
Um
be the opposite.
it used to be the opposite. That's true.
Yeah.
It used to be, and that's just not the case anymore. So, and you've seen Brentford in some instances. Now, this match won't matter because Everton's just going to play direct. But you've seen in some instances where they've tried to be a team that can press higher and try to cause some problems. They're doing a decent job of that. But yeah, the one thing I will say is if Brentford can get Everton's defensive line higher up and they can start playing balls in behind, which is a very difficult thing to do against Everton. Everton's going to be at home, so you might be able to see them play that a little bit of a higher line. Um, they're a lot faster than Everton's back line, which is pretty slow. So, um, and I like, for Everton, I know they haven't been that good offensively. I think the new pieces that they have around are way better than what they've been in the past. And I think you're going to see Everton's offense start to get better and better. I mean, Endai, and he was awesome at Sheffield United and, it was, kind of was in and out of the lineup in Marseille. He's been amazing for them. Him and Lindstrom and Dwight McNeil. It actually is like a formidable like
You
transition
sure?
team and like ball carriers and can actually cause a lot of problems. Then
No
Calvert-Lewin,
finishers though.
no finishers. Calvert-Lewin has been sucking
He's
up
so
top.
cooked. I'm done pretending he's good.
Yeah. Remember we had him Golden Boot like was that 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
The XG per
Well,
90,
we were always
man.
saying, well, if he could just stay healthy, Everton could. No, he's healthy and they still can't score. So yeah, I
Look,
like
there's such a
over.
huge quality of difference in attackers here. I mean, Mbuemo
Yeah,
and Visa versus those clowns for Everton. They can't finish anything. I mean, it's stark, right? So
it
how do we bet
is.
Everton? How you betting Everton as a favorite? And I know this is an
I don't
Everton
know.
group. I believe Bob's not here to tell us, but he wouldn't even bet
Yeah.
Everton here.
I don't think he would either. This is one of the teams that he wouldn't bet Everton against.
Right.
But yeah, I like over 2.5. I projected over 3 goals for it. So it's just kind of a simple numbers play for me. I know Everton's attack hasn't been good, but Brentford's defense has been terrible. And I think that this is one of those game state dependent games where, I think if you look at the West Ham Everton match, I think if one goal goes in, I think things kind of change up a little bit. I think West Ham tries to control more instead of being like super, super direct. Um, first goal goes in.
Branthwaite isn't going to play, right?
Correct. I think
That
he's
that's the
50
linchpin
50.
there. Like the
Yeah,
whole thing of
exactly.
Everton is like they can defend deep and be a pesky team to play, but they can't do that without Brandt. Like they're just a bad defense.
Right. And the thing is, and I mentioned this before, Anthony, but they can't defend crosses anymore, which, like, if you're a compact defensive team and you're like, one of the theories of guys like Sean Dyche and teams who play these compact 4-4-2s, it's like, all right, we can't allow teams to play through the middle and we'll just take our chances with teams that send in crosses. Everton's allowed the most crosses in their penalty area of anybody this season. And it's because, precisely, I went back and looked at this, Anthony. Braithwaite, 68% aerial dual win rate last year. It was by far the best that Everton had. I mean, Tarkovsky was kind of up there a little bit. You bring in Michael Keane and you're not able to win a lot of those aerial duels. So,
Yeah.
and obviously Brentford, how do they play? They just want to get the ball wide and swinging crosses. So, I mean, obviously they don't have aerial threats, but there'll be a lot of cutbacks and things like that. Everton also 11th and XG per set piece allowed. That's not good. So, by the way, Brentford, so beautiful, scored off a throw in against Bournemouth. I'm pretty sure that they have a throw-in coach that's fully employed for them. So he got his money's worth there. So yeah, I like over in that one. Let's move on. Fulham Wolves,
Ugh.
best team in the Premier League versus the worst.
Do you know why Fulham's good? I still haven't figured it out yet. I was talking about
I
this
gotta
last
call.
week.
I'll tell you here. Let me read the odds and I'll tell you why. Fulham is minus 154. Wolves is 4-1. Draws 3-1. Total is over 2.5. It's like minus 150 right now. Nobody's gotten injured for them.
That's true. If
That's
Wolves get
why.
to +1, I'm gonna bet Wolves here. I think Wolves are underrated.
Yep.
I talked about this too. Like their schedule was so brutal at the beginning of the year, and they actually didn't play that bad against it. They've had a goal prevention problem for sure, but there's nothing in their underlying numbers that tells me they're like a horrid defense besides the goals conceded. So, which sounds crazy to say, and I know how dumb that sounds, but uh, other than the goals, Miss Lincoln, they are not terrible, and they've shown that in the last few weeks where they've gotten results against teams that are pretty good, not great. The draw against Brighton come from behind. They get the comfortable win against Southampton. Like this is not the worst team in the league. This is not a bottom three team. They're probably 17th though. The question is just Fulham is a tough price. I don't understand them.
Yeah, my thing. Here's
Can't
the
just
thing.
be nobody got hurt. We didn't think the starting 11 was
I
that
know,
good.
I know. And here's what I'll tell you. So I did some research on Fulham a couple weeks ago, I guess. Well, I haven't done it, recently. But, do you remember when Marco Silva when they first got to Premier League? Like they were like the best championship team ever.
Yeah,
And
I like that Fulham team.
yeah, and it was just like, all right, well, how do they play like they did in the championship? And Silva just went like full, let's just cross people to death. Well, they're doing that
Mitrovic,
again. Yeah, they're just doing that again. And they're actually having a lot of success with it. They've completed the most crosses of anybody. Their whole goal, for a lot of teams that like to compact the middle, their whole goal is to get into 2v1 or 3v2s out wide and just sending crosses, right? They're dangerous in transition. They got a lot of pieces that can go forward. What's puzzling me, Anthony,
the
is
defense.
like so they're number one in final third of box entry conversion rate allowed. Like they're the best team at defending their penalty area, which is nothing new. Like they were good at doing that last season. But I mean, winning every single match on XG outside of the one against Manchester United to begin the season, like I never saw that coming at all. Um, and it's one of those things where I think the market has kind of gotten like here's what I'm struggling with, Anthony, right? Because the underlying numbers are great, and I think your question of like why are they good, it's like their underlying numbers were not good last season. In fact, they were actually quite bad. And
Right.
now I'm wrestling with this like from a projection standpoint of like how much credit do I give them for being really, really good this season, but they were also really bad last year, right? So like I think I have a good mix right now. Like I have Fulham at minus 132, which I think is kind of fair, Like if like you said, if they get up to +1 at a decent number here, I will take Wolves. Um, I've already, if you want to bet it, Wolves to stay up minus 225 is out there, which I think which is okay. They're in their Wolves is in their easy stretch of schedule. They had a gauntlet to begin the season. So if that's a future you want to play, but yeah, I mean Fulham's allowed the fewest box entries of anybody. Like how is that even possible at this point?
It's not even like they've had a ton of red card luck where they're
Right,
able to
exactly. They
dominate
haven't,
games. Because that was the
and
story part of, what was it, 2 years ago, where everybody
yep,
kept getting red cards against them. Like you could have found reasons to be skeptical of them each of the last few years and saying, they can't actually do this again. No way. And it turns out they can. I picked Fulham to go 16th. I just pulled up my preseason column that I wrote
yeah,
the ringer. I had them 16th, and I think I had them 16th in my preseason power ratings. I might have had Forest a little lower, but I was thought there was a clear bottom four. And then I remember even saying on our preview show that when Steve Cerruti picked the over, and Paul Carr and I both were like not
what?
feeling too good about that. And then sure enough, they're going way over. Um,
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
just
we're
like
gonna find.
they lose Polina and they get better. It doesn't make a ton of
Yeah,
sense
I mean,
defensively. The
here's
attack
what's
has always been fun, but they always have good crossers, right? Robinson's a good crosser of the ball. He does a ton of work on the left side. Iwobi underrated, kind of making late runs into the box. They've always had underrated midfielders in terms of getting into the box and adding goal production.
yeah.
But like you said, how are they this good defensively? It
How
is
this could have, yeah, like, and the thing is like Lucic has been out. Like Lucic is actually a halfway decent like defensive midfielder. He's been out for a while. He's going to be out until, well, I guess he might come back this week. Um, but they've been playing Sander Berge and it's like their main defensive midfielder and like their
Sheffield legend.
Sheffield legend, Burnley legend, Like, and I said this before, and maybe I'm just dead wrong about him, but like Burnley was horrible defensively last season, and he was their main defensive midfielder, right? So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
he can't be that good, but apparently it's somehow working. Now they did catch Crystal Palace like with their team entirely injured, so like you could say that
I
they
don't know.
came.
They took out City though. They were good
They
with
took out.
Villa.
They did. They put up 2.6 against City. They They took out Forest in like a match that was pretty, but they had a penalty in that match that was pretty even. They dominated Newcastle at home.
Right.
But you look at it, look at what they've done away from home. I mean, yes, that Forest match, if you take away the penalty, they would have lost on XG. They played Palace with their team almost entirely injured, and the XG was actually pretty similar there. They're going to come up here, Anthony, after this match against Wolves. It's Tottenham, Brighton, Arsenal, Liverpool.
So
Then
maybe
Southampton,
we'll learn a lot about
And
Fulham.
then Southampton, Chelsea, Bournemouth. So we're going to find out if they are actually good. I get it. They've played City and they played them tough and they beat Newcastle, but those are two matches, right? Like now you have to play a stretch of really, really difficult teams. And I will be very interested to see. I looked before we got on here. They are Tottenham, I'm pretty sure is yeah, they're minus 154 against Fulham. I haven't pulled up my projections to see what it is. My guess is going to be it's probably going to be closer to in line with the market, but yeah, we're going to find out a lot about if Fulham's good or not. But yeah, in terms of this match, I am going to pass for this, and I think you are
Yeah,
too.
nothing for me here now. And we'll see
Yep.
what the market moves. Nothing for me on the next one either. Liverpool,
Yeah.
Southampton.
Yeah.
um, I bet Liverpool under in about every game they played this year.
I don't
Probably
think this is
80% of them.
yeah, I don't think this is the one to
This
do
is
it.
not the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll pass on that one. One thing I'll mention, I was just looking at the chat here. Shout out Sam. I miss you, buddy. Sam Ingram's in the chat here. Um, for anybody who wants to ask us questions, I think we're just gonna do it at the end. We'll answer some questions. I don't want to keep Anthony too long. He does have a full-time job. Uh, you know,
I'm
uh,
off today after this. I'm
oh, you're off
on a
after this.
plane to
Okay.
San Diego. I have a
Okay.
wedding this weekend. Friend's getting
Okay.
married. Nobody in the wedding party gives a shit about soccer, but I will be finding somewhere to watch the games this
Yep.
weekend. I will not be
Early.
up at 4:30 for what
Yeah.
is it, Leicester Chelsea. Not going to do that, but
No. You'll be
the
up for
7
Arsenal.
a.m. slate, you know.
Arsenal. You'll be up for Arsenal and
Yeah. And I'm going to a bar
Forest.
for Indiana, Ohio State. So
Oh,
I
nice.
may bring my laptop and watch Spurs and City at 9:30
Yeah.
Saturday morning. So it'll be fun. But
Exactly. Yep. Okay. Ipswich, Manchester United. We get the Emorium uh era underway.
are we now? Let's do a bigger picture conversation on United. Where are we at
Yeah.
here? Because I said this, I think we were Ten Hag fans when he first got hired.
Yeah, it was. I thought it would be
Yeah,
good.
we all made money betting that those Ajax teams.
Yeah.
We had some fun times, especially that one year in the Champions League when they just
Oh
like
yeah.
destroyed Dortmund and Besiktas and
Oh yeah.
somebody else, Sporting Lisbon, I think it was.
Funny enough. Guess which team was in that group as well?
Yeah, Lisbon, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sporting.
It's Sporting.
Emorium Sporting.
We destroyed them like multiple times. And then
Ajax
they
ripped
went out
them.
to Porto, right? No, it was Benfica. It was Darwin Nunez and Benfica.
Yep,
What a
exactly.
time.
What
What a
times? Yeah,
nostalgia
fun
time.
times. Now everything sucks.
But
Um,
so Ajax is the overperformer in Europe, dominate their domestic league. The manager gets all this aplomb, attention. Everybody's like, all right, United. He goes there, and I don't know how long until you realize it was a joke. Like the first season was not bad. Like
I mean, they were yeah, they
were
finished
much better.
third, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. Gotten back in the Champions League. It wasn't
But
bad.
yeah, the underlying numbers were
But
okay.
everybody knew it. Like, thing is, like, here's the
But like
thing.
eight
It's
matches
like
into the second season, it was kind of over, right?
this is where trophy culture gets in the way of everything, right? He wins two trophies, and it just like masks all of the problems that they had for so long.
So
And
how does Amorim not become the same thing? That's my problem. It's like overperformed in Europe,
right.
made us a bunch of money as bettors. We love him. We love Sporting. They were fun to watch last year. Good team. Had some fun players. Now he comes to United. I like the guy, but I like Ten
I do
Hag.
too. But
People forget before we were anti Ten Hag and United haters, we were pro Ten Hag, and we had to
yep.
change course. I
Yeah,
just don't know how it like this season is a kind of a lost year, but
it is.
I don't really know how this gets better. I
I
mean,
don't either.
without better
Here's
buying, they got to buy better players
They
and
do.
stop
And they've already
spending.
spent a ton of money on players.
Well, there's always money, but
Here's my thing is I was doing a lot of reading about Amorium. We watched him obviously a bunch in the Champions League, so we have a good idea. But I read this very comprehensive thread from Tactics, which TACTX, great follow on Twitter if you want to just do tactics and things like that. Basically going through his whole out of possession approach, which has been the biggest problem with United by far under Ten Hag is out of possession. They have just been so bad with their press. And I'm telling you, this is a problem that goes back to Ralph Ragnick. Ralph Ragnick tried
All
to
comes
turn
back to Ralph.
it all goes back to Ralph. It's not Ralph's fault. He just tried to, because we love Ralph. We love that Austria. Austria is going to probably cause some havoc in the World Cup in 2026. Um, but United as a core, as their team, just is not a good pressing team. Like guys like Rashford and Bruno Fernandes have not been good at leading the press. And with Amorium, it's pressing really hard, really relentlessly, and very aggressively. They always press the goalkeeper, which, either forces teams into a long ball or if they want to play short. And the midfielders always have to come up and back up the press and the double pivot. The center backs always have to come and back up. The wing backs have to get high and they have to press. And that has been the biggest problem for United under Ten Hag is that why their press sucked last season. It was just like all the attackers were pressing, but we didn't want to get beat because our defense isn't good enough. So like we just won't come up and aid in the press. So my question is like, okay, how is United suddenly going to turn from this team that was a terrible pressing team and suddenly be able to mark teams man to man and press high and cause problems and be like these teams like Bournemouth and City and Newcastle and like turn into this really good pressing team? And I just don't see how that's going to happen. And that's what Amorium wants to do. And this is what kind of leads me to I like over 3 here in
Hmm.
Ipswich this weekend. Um, Ipswich, I still think they're the worst team in this league.
Yeah, me too.
I think some people will say Southampton. I think Ipswich is worse. They have shown some ability to play in transition. Like they have some guys, like Amari Hutchinson is somebody who's a good ball carrier that can go in. But the problem is United's midfield, right? So if you're going to be a team that presses high and really relentlessly, well, you're probably going to have to play Ugarte. And you're probably going to have to play Casemiro, who's gotten a lot better, right? Neither of those guys are good on the ball. Neither of those guys can build out of the back,
Yeah.
right? So you say, okay, well, we can play Kobe Manu, right? Like that's a good mix. That's good balance, right?
Is he
Okay.
back this week?
I'm not sure if he's back yet. If he's not
Doesn't
available,
it's 50
that's a big
50. Yeah.
problem. Let me double check. He is looks like he is out this weekend. So there you go. Or it says he's coming. Yeah, he might be back. I'm not sure.
It's one of
Again,
those we have no idea
you have no
international
idea.
break.
Okay, but
Oh, tomorrow. Yeah.
here's in theory. Okay, so if you're gonna play Casemiro and Ugarte, because Ugarte, if you remember, was under Amorium at Sporting before he got sold to PSG. Um, he's not very good on the ball. He's too aggressive with his pressing, which is going to leave their back line really exposed, and their back line sucks, quite frankly. And we've seen multiple times this season where if you want to put Delict and Lissandro Martinez on islands, or even Victor Lindelof or Harry Maguire, like teams have been able to punish them over and over again. So I just don't really know how this out of possession thing is going to work, and I think it's going to take a lot of time to actually work it and get United to that part of structure where they're actually a good pressing team. And I think the squad is currently constructed, like you said, they need to buy a lot more players that fit this system. I think they have a lot of players that don't fit what Amorium wants to do. So for me, I like over 3 here. I projected 3.6 goals. Again, like United is about like an even expected goal differential team this season. Right? They're a little above it now, I guess. But yeah, I don't really see, and it could be dead wrong. We might get some new manager bounce here. And the reason I like over 3 is because I think there is a scenario where new manager bounce, United just scores a ton of goals and they potentially maybe win this 4-0. So I would rather take that over a both teams to score or both teams score no. The one thing that we have been mentioning before on Wonder Goal before it ended, but United positive aggression and negative aggression, like the matches are going to be more high scoring, right? They have scored, there's been 11 goals scored, 12 conceded off of 17.4 expected, created, and 16.7 allowed. So, yeah, over 3 for me. And I just don't really see how this, eventually, Morium, I like him and I think he might be good. But in the short term, I don't see how it gets much better.
Yeah, if you're a new manager and you're like, hey, we really want to get in transition, we really want to have some fun, we want to bring the joy back to Man United, we want to kind of burst out of the gate, you're not going to get a better matchup than Ipswich, right?
Yeah.
So they're giving up huge XG per shot numbers. And those are the kind of matchups where you start to see that positive aggression for United in attack, where they have underperformed so badly. And they kind of have a striker problem, low key. I mean, Hoyland's been okay, but it hasn't been great. Um, don't really know what their midfield situation is. And United, I mean, Lissandro's questionable, Maguire, Lindelof out. So like their center back situation is shaky. I mean, Lissandro
Mhm.
left Argentina camp, was not fit, so we don't know where he's at. But
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. I'm probably not going to bet it.
Yep. I agree. So yeah, I like over in that one. And then the final match is we got a Monday match. This is nice.
Decent Monday one too.
This is decent.
It means we have. That means, by the way, I mean like as a sports fan, um, full college slate this weekend is
Yep.
going to be
Oh
exciting.
yeah.
We got some
Full
big
college
ones.
slate, feast week coming
Feast
up.
week in college hoops, and then we have soccer every day next week.
Yep.
We got Saturday, Sunday. We got Monday Night
Yep.
Football, Champions League Tuesday, Wednesday, Europa League, Thanksgiving. I remember
Yep.
watching Spurs play on Thanksgiving this year. Let's see, who do they have?
Europa League, yeah.
And I think it's a good one, isn't it? Roma? Or did I
Uh,
imagine that?
yes, I think you're right.
Wow. Okay, so that's a big. Yeah, Roma home Thursday. So there you
Roma
go.
home on Thursday. Which
Gonna
Roma's
have to
on? And Claudio
Instead of
Ranieri.
Cooper Rush and Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah, you get Claudio
Uh,
Ranieri versus Ange.
I'll be watching Claudio and Ange for sure. I mean, I'll
What
have the
is?
laptop.
I mean, maybe we'll get to Serie A, but like, what is going on with Roma on? They're
I
gonna
don't know.
manager, dude. Anyway, so yeah, last match. I like both teams to score here in Newcastle West Ham. I think that minus 140 is a tad low. I think this, I was looking at my projections and I was just like, ugh, I'm a little like, I don't know if I'm wrong or whatever, but I was showing low value in West Ham and I'm like, I have no interest in backing West Ham in any case. But what I will say about West Ham is like, I heard somebody say, I can't remember who it was. They said that Lopetegui is just now like the Spanish David Moyes, which I was like, that's really insulting. Where it's like, I don't know if he's like, you could say he's trying to, play this more progressive style. He's not really trying to do that. Like they're just playing more direct and it's just not working. Their defense is horrible. It's been horrible for a
Terrible.
long time. It's going to continue to be horrible until they bring in somebody who can, it's the composition of the
They need a
squad is really
full
what it
reboot.
is.
Yeah.
They need a full reboot. They need a lot of good young defensive ball winning midfielders because right now they have none. Center backs are actually okay. They just get put on in horrible situations over and over again. 18th in final third entries allowed this season for West Ham. But here's what I will say is West Ham has the attackers to give any teams problems. And I'm pretty sure that Kudus' ban is up this week, if I'm not mistaken, which will obviously, yeah, he's got one more match suspended, excuse me. Fulkrug is still out.
What a
Edson
purchase Nick Fulkrug was.
yeah, what a purchase. I think I bet him to
Brought
be.
back
You know
the
what? I
haven't
bet
been
him to be
heroes
West
get
Ham's.
bought.
I bet him to be West Ham's top goal scorer, and it's still live because Bowen's leading the team
Has
with
he
3 goals.
scored a goal, Fulkrug, this year?
He has not. He has played .790s this season. But
Oh
no,
man.
yeah, it's just like, you play Guido Rodriguez as like your main like ball winning midfielder. He's just not that. But in any case, and I've said this before, is like, yes, Kudus is out, but this is, they brought in Somerville over the summer. Like he was the best winger in the championship last
Good
season.
player.
So he's a very good player. So it's not like if you lose Kudus, like you're losing much. The drop off isn't as much to him. So, and Newcastle, they're at home here. I'd imagine they're gonna press a little bit higher. And their defense has been bad as well this season. It's gotten better recently. Like, they allowed zero point 0.6 to Forest, 1.1 to Arsenal, 1.6 to Chelsea, 1.1 to Brighton, which is fine, early on it was bad. They're allowing 1.3 expected goals per 90, where West Ham is at like 1.7. So both teams scored at minus 140, projected at minus 160-ish in that range. Yeah, I think West Ham has enough here in attack to put one in the back of the net. So I like both teams to score here.
Newcastle, nothing for me. Think
Okay.
I wrote before the season West Ham like bought a bunch of players, but it wasn't obvious to me that they were going to make them better. And that's
Yep.
exactly what happened.
Yep. Exactly. Right.
Buying for the
That
sake
is
of buying.
right. Exactly. And that is something with this kind of overarching thing with futures, right? Like, teams that make these big splashes, you have to recognize the manager and how it actually becomes uh sustainable or how it actually works. And with Lopetegui, we've seen him at Wolves, we've seen him at Sevilla, and we've seen that it just really doesn't work that well. Okay, so that's the Premier League. Let's move on here. I'm going to run through these quickly. If anybody in the chat has any questions for us, put them in the chat right now. We'll answer them once we get done here. We'll try to get out of here quickly. I'm just going to run through these quickly. Bundesliga for me, Bayern to win nil on Friday at minus 103, which is available at Bet Rivers against Augsburg. Bayern, do you know this, Anthony? Europe's top five leagues. Bayern has allowed
Lowest XG allowed.
lowest XG allowed.
Yep.
It's the counter press is really what it is. They're controlling a ton of possession. The counter press has been hitting home and getting really effective. And not
We've
many
always
teams.
said Vincent Company, great manager.
Yeah, I've always said that. Yeah, I said, I'm a little I'm a little out on him maybe in the Champions League, but yeah, it's so I like them to win nil minus 103. Augsburg has not created over one expected goal in their last three matches. Freiburg +1 against Dortmund. I'm sure you'll be on this with me. Freiburg's good.
They are good.
They have like a plus +0.5 expected goal differential per 90 right now.
Better than
Um,
Dortmund.
Dortmund is bad. They're bad at defending in transition. Freiburg is good at being in transition. It's pretty simple, as simple as that.
Yeah, I kind of
Um,
like the over there too.
yeah, as well. And then last one, Mainz +130 against Holstein Kiel on the road. Mainz actually, if I'm not mistaken, let me double check and make sure I'm not speaking out of turn, but I'm pretty sure Mainz they might be back. Remember that Mainz team from like 3 years ago that we just bet on like every single week?
Yep.
They're around it. They've had some penalties go against them, and there's been some red cards and stuff like that, but they're
They
on an
won't be
even.
relegated. They're somewhere in the lower
Yeah,
mid table.
but Holstein Kiel, I mean, this team is they're awful. They're
Not the
doing
worst team in the league
not the
though.
worst team in the league. Bochum would have that title
The
right now.
the the uh the Cinderella run of Bochum has ended.
Yeah, it's gonna come to
They're
it.
going they're going down big time. I
They're going
love
down, or
Stuttgart.
they're gonna have to pull off some great escape.
Stuttgart -1.5. I laid so
Okay,
far. That and Frankfurt are the only two bets I've made. So I laid Frankfurt
okay,
-140 and I laid Stuttgart -1.5 on
okay.
-125. I kind of think I'm going to play Freiburg or the over. I haven't really decided on that one yet. But yeah, no,
Yep.
Bochum's defense away from home, giving up over 3 goals a match, almost 3 XG per match. Stuttgart's still a very good team on their home soil. Like their Bochum's defense has always been a problem away from home. And it feels like they were patching it together and like plugging the holes on the boat. And now like there's 18 holes and they're completely destroyed. That's a really, really, really bad situation. They somehow got a result against Leverkusen, which I think should
Yeah.
sound some Leverkusen alarm bells. But yeah, I mean they played Dortmund, they gave up 4, Bayern, they gave up 5, Frankfurt, they gave up 7, uh, 2 to Gladbach on 3 XG. Like every decent attacking team they played has just destroyed them this year.
Yep. All right, so that's Bundesliga. La Liga for me, Mallorca on the road against Las Palmas. Mallorca had drawn a bet -122. That's available also at Bet Rivers. That they've been steamed. That drawn a bet price has been steamed kind of around elsewhere in the market. Um, Longest travel, I believe, for any Spanish team going from basically, from Mallorca all the way down to uh, Las Palmas, which is off the coast of Morocco, if I'm not mistaken. But here's the thing. Las Palmas, they are, even though it's a long way to travel there, you'd think they'd have some type of home field advantage. They have the worst expected goal differential at home of anybody in La Liga this season. And they were very obviously like the team to go down. Like I remember looking through all the La Liga futures, and it was so obvious that they so overperformed so drastically last year and that they but the market made them the favorite to go down. So I was like, all right, cool. But Mallorca, very good defensive team. And, Las Palmas is a team that is trying to play a modern, more progressive style, build out of the back. Like they do a good job of getting like they're kind of like very similar, Anthony, to like Russell Martin's Southampton, where it's just like you you're able to get through the first couple phases by like having like a 5v4 or a 4v3 overload. And then once you get in the final third, there's just nothing. And if you've watched Mallorca ever in the last 3 or 4 years, they're like one of the best low block defending teams out there. So I like them -122. Osasuna and Villarreal over 2.5 -129. Villarreal, man, they're on this run. I don't believe it at all. I think
Totally fake.
it's totally fake. And I've been betting against them and they've been killing me.
The
But their
ghost of
match,
Iosi Perez.
yeah, their matches this season are averaging close to 3 expected goals, like 2.91 or so in that range. Just very, very high event matches under Marcelino. A lot of 4-4-2 direct. counterattacking stuff. And Osasuna this season as well have been playing high event as well. They're averaging, their matches, they've already seen 20, 35 goal, or excuse me, 35 goals in their 13 matches, which is not bad.
For La Liga,
So
it's like a
for La Liga, that's pretty good, honestly. So yeah,
explosion.
over two, and they got a striker in Budimir he's already got 6 goals this season. So over 2.5 there. I also was looking at Celta Vigo, Barcelona over 3.5. I would like Robert Lewandowski to be healthy and starting up top for that to happen. It looks like Yamal's going to be out for that one. If it's just Yamal out and Lewandowski's up top, I will bet over 3.5 at, I think you can find plus 120 right now. So that's it for me in La Liga. Do you have anything in Spain?
One bet. I've only made seven all year
Okay.
in La Liga. I've been dialing it back and honestly having some success with it. 5-0-1, or no, 5
Nice.
1-1 this year. I like Real Betis. Valencia has run out of money. They run out of good attackers and they run out of goals. They have 8 XG this year and only one game where they've created more than one, and it was against Palmas. So at home against Betis, like Betis money line is plus 165. I'm not sure. I think it should be that high. So Real Betis away from home. My only bet in La Liga.
Somebody in the chat just asked if I'm a Scotty Scheffler doppelganger. You know what's funny? One of my best friends said that I look like Scotty Scheffler, and I said no, I don't. Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
I
And
don't know
we've
if I
made
see it.
and we've made fun of him for it, like for calling me Scotty Scheffler about how horrible of a take it was. And now somebody just said that, so I got to make sure that he doesn't see that, because
I
he'll.
get a lot of MJF. People are wrestling fans.
Oh yeah,
I
I
don't
can see
watch
that.
wrestling much, and then I get a lot of Michael Cera. My
Oh,
hair's
that's,
longer, not as much when it's shorter, but
yeah,
when
yeah,
I let my hair grow out a little.
yeah. All right. Italy. I have one bet. Torino plus 105 against Monza.
Yeah,
Uh,
Monza Cliff was always coming at some
yeah, I
point,
have a
right?
10 to 1. I have a 10 to 1 relegation ticket and like a 30 to 1 bottom ticket, which is very live right now. Monza has created in 12 matches, they have created eight expected goals. Eight. That is 0.68 per 90.
It's about as good as Valencia. I think Valencia's got 8 out of
That's
13.
and I'm not saying here Torino is any good. Monza has lost 3 straight matches to Atalanta, Milan, and Lazio, which, by the way, Lazio actually might be pretty good this season. Um, but yeah, Torino has gone through a pretty difficult stretch here. They've lost 7 of their last 8 matches. But again, if you look at who they've played and especially who they've played at home this season, they have been pretty decent. They beat Como at home. They played Fiorentina very evenly, lost a tough 1-0 one there. It's kind of going back to a little bit more low event matches for Torino. But yeah, plus 105 for a team that has just way better underlying numbers than Monza. I like them. So that's the only bet I have in Serie A. What about
Atalanta
Atalanta? Yeah, I
Yep.
figured
every week, baby.
every week.
Just a beautiful team.
Yeah.
I think the race is really fun. We talked about it on our show. Like I think
Yep.
anywhere this could go. I mean, Inter's defense has taken a step back
Hmm.
noticeably. Juve, Napoli, and Fiorentina give up nothing. Fiorentina's good. Score one for you and your anti-Italiano takes. Fiorentina's
Hmm.
much better this year than they've been in years past.
Hmm.
And then Atalanta's they had a sluggish start like they always do under Gasperini, but since September, they've been the best team in the league. So
Yep.
fun race.
It is a
Really
fun
could go
race.
anyway.
And then France. I got 3 bets in France this weekend.
Three too
Uh,
many.
3 is too many.
Three too many.
Um,
Zero. Just chalk France. I'm done with France.
PSG,
I bet
PSG
like
to lose.
once a year.
Yeah, yeah. PSG to lose under 3 plus 110. Um, Toulouse and PSG are tied for second in expected goals allowed. Toulouse has the best final third box entry conversion rate allowed. And the thing is like, they're obviously allowing this low amount of expected goals. They have actually played a pretty difficult schedule. They've played Nice, they've played Marseille, they've played Lyon, they've played Lille, they've played Rennes. Like they have played all of the good teams, and nobody has created over 1.6 expected goals against them. Now PSG is obviously a step up from those teams, obviously, but again, it just kind of highlights that like they are a very good defensive team. Now offensively, that's a little bit of a difference. Offensively, they're okay, but obviously playing PSG, they're going to sit in and they're going to They're going to play a very low defensive block, and they're not going to hold a lot of possession against Luis Enrique's team. So I like under three there, projected 2.8. So under three, plus 110. Nice minus 120 against Strasbourg. Nice is good under Franicas. I know they kind of struggled against Lille their last match, but they are good. Um, uh, Minus 120, I think, is short for them at home against Strasbourg, who is allowing 1.73 expected goals per 90. Strasbourg, very bad defensive team, excuse me, very bad transition defensive team. And that's how Nice wants to play. If you've watched Frank Haas at Lens last season, like his teams were very direct in that 3-4-3. They like to take a lot of chances, a lot of direct passes. So I think that they're gonna struggle. They're gonna have a lot of success here against Strasbourg. And then finally, you need to tell me if I can pronounce these two names right. As everybody knows, I'm really good at pronouncing
Yeah,
French
you
names.
butched Amorim pretty good. You
Amarine,
said like
Amarine,
Amorium, which
Amorian,
there's like
Amorium,
there's not a U in
Amarine.
his
Is it
name.
Amarine? I've heard Amorium. I've heard, whatever. It
I thought it
doesn't.
was Amorim. I could be wrong, but
Who cares? Uh,
you got Fernange. You get Fernange right every
uh,
week, but then you get Amorim,
okay. Algiers against Angers. How
Angier.
Algiers?
Yeah.
Algiers against Angers. I like Algiers.
Oh. You're talking about. I thought you were talking. Okay. Auxerre.
Is it Augiers? Is that how
Auxerre.
you pronounce it? Okay.
Auxerre. Yes.
Augiers. Okay.
The team with the
Augiers.
X in it. AUXER.
Yeah. Yeah.
ER.
Yeah.
Yeah. Auxerre
Augiers. Okay. All
against
right.
Angier.
Against Angers. I
Took
like
a little bit of
Augiers.
French.
I like Augiers.
Auxerre.
Augiers. Minus 115. You can find that at
Duolingo. It will be next
you can
week's
find
episode.
that at GM right now. I want to read this off for you. Last three home matches for Augiers. They beat Brest 3-0, 2.5 to point 0.8. They beat Reims 2-1, 2.8 to 1.1. They beat Rennes 4-0, 2.8 to point 0.9. They are legitimately playing the second worst team in Ligue this weekend in Angers, and they're sitting only at minus 115. If you go back and look at the second division last year, Angers had way, way better underlying numbers than Angers. So I haven't seen any significant injuries for them. So I think minus 115 is incredibly low. So that will wrap things up here.
I'll give you a B plus for the pronunciations there.
B
There's no, you
plus.
don't pronounce the
I'll take
S.
that. All
So
right. I'm gonna
Angier
give
and Auxerre.
Augier and Angers.
There you go.
Angers. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
like Steve Martin in the Pink Panther.
Right, exactly.
Hamburger.
Okay, so that will do it for this live stream.
We're not going to do an underdog? You don't have an underdog?
Yeah, we can do an underdog. You want to do
Yeah, dude,
underdog?
I'm on Tottenham.
You're on
Plus
Tottenham?
450, 75, whatever. Yeah.
Okay, give me
The
Freiburg.
Ans just said that Postacoglu just said that Van de Ven will not play. He's multiple
Okay.
weeks away.
So
No
that's
surprise there. But we got Radu. We're gonna
yeah.
double team. We're gonna the big boys, Romero and Dragoshin,
All
lining
right.
up against Big Earl on Saturday. So
And who would leave off one if we were doing an underdog parlay?
we could text him.
I
Maybe
mean,
tweet
he's
it.
not gonna get back to us right away, but
Not right this second. No.
not right this second. Hang on, let me pull parlay.
We talked on the phone like 2 days ago, actually.
Yeah, I've talked to
Da,
him.
da, da, da. I mean, he would be on Forest, right?
Yeah, Forest. Okay, so let me pull up a little parlay calculator here. So your underdog parlay for the weekend, Forest was what, 8-1, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Forest is 8-1. I'll be on Friday. You'll be on Tottenham at 475. I will be
Big
on
one.
Freiburg at plus 375, 244 or 245 to 1. So there you go. There's your underdog parlay for the weekend, which has been hitting at such a high rate.
Are we still in the green after hitting one?
Oh yeah, we're still in the
We've
green.
had so many close calls, man.
Yeah, I
That
know.
was the highlight of
Yeah, it's
my.
funny.
That was the best $10 a week I ever spent.
I know this season it was so bad. I think we hit one underdog like overall.
One total
For,
underdog?
10 straight
Oh
weeks.
man.
It was so bad.
Jeez.
Oh, it's just, and it was bad, and then it was like close calls and things like that. So yeah. All right. So there's the
I
underdog
haven't been
parlay.
playing enough underdog money lines this year
Yeah, me either.
because like the one thing is like the mid table's better and the top three-ish or worse. And
Yeah.
that is where you get those big money line payouts, like the Brighton over City, the
Yeah.
Bournemouth over both City and Arsenal. When Liverpool lost to Forest, like those matchups have gone the way of the dog this year.
Right.
Not as much the shitty teams, but
Right.
pretty good teams versus the not quite as elite teams as usual. So
Right. Okay. So if anybody in the chat has questions, put them in there right now. I'm going to talk about something I'm going to be doing here in the coming weeks. I don't know when I'm actually going to launch it. I still have to figure all that out. But I am going to be starting a Substack, which is very exciting. And what I'll do a whole video on it on like exactly what you're going to get from that, but just be on the lookout for that in the future. Um, and yeah, for the time being, yeah, I'm just gonna be doing the Substack and continue these YouTube live streams. Might do some YouTube videos as well, and just continue kind of doing some stuff on my own here for the time being. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Thank you all for listening to this. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, Anthony, for jumping on here with me. And as always, good luck with your bets this season. Oh, and by the way, go read Anthony's stuff at The Ringer. Go listen to The Ringer Soccer Show. And yeah, good luck with your bets this
are
weekend.
we not
And
doing? We got any questions throughout the show or no?
there's no questions right now, unless somebody pops a question in here in the next few minutes. What
Yeah,
do you think of Genoa? I think
this
Genoa
weekend.
is a mid-table Serie A team, and
There's not
that's
a whole
all
lot
I
of
really.
interesting bottom half of Serie A teams this year. Usually, like I find two or three, and it's still early. Um, the way I kind of look to those leagues, it's like, okay, we have a fun top 7 or 8, and then it's like, all right, when do I want to look to play against some of those teams when I think they get overvalued? And
Yeah.
this year, there's not one or two that pop out to me.
Yeah.
They're always like, even last year, like Genoa had an interesting profile where I bet them a bunch, where there's
Oh yeah.
certain teams that run really good, like Sassuolo last year. And I think I bet against them a ton, but like there hasn't yet been an emergence of a team where I'm like, maybe Monza to the negative, but yeah, in terms
Yeah.
of uh, very little interesting in their profile.
Genoa is allowing 1.64 expected goals per 90. Ugh, they were actually good defensively last year. Ugh.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can't forgive me for I think it was yeah, they've basically anytime they've played a good team, they've got just housed. 3.6 to Atalanta. They got 5 to Atalanta. 2.6. I mean, if you give 3 goals to Juventus, oh, you got problems. Um,
My boys. The
yeah,
Juventus was looking so good until Bremer
they
got hurt.
were. And now I
They're
was
still
actually looking
good,
to
but
AC Milan and Juventus are playing this weekend, which is a big match. It doesn't look like Vlahovic is going to play. Otherwise, I might have taken Juventus plus a half, but now you're paying like minus 150-ish in that range, and I just don't really want to do that in any case. So, thoughts on Anthony, thoughts on Pochettino at US? You probably have better
I mean,
thoughts
do you
than
guys watch the other night?
yeah.
That was awesome. I mean, they're trying different things. They look like a good club team. Robinson tucking into midfield, switching wingers, playing different things. I mean, it's Jamaica, right? But
Yeah.
uh, they're going to play Panama in March. They're going to probably play Canada or Mexico in the final after they beat Panama. It's just so hard to gauge progress because they get so few games against like great teams, good teams, even like the Gold Cup and like
Mhm.
Panama. Like they're going to play but like I don't know if they're going to be perfectly above average national team, which is kind of what they are. They might as well be fun, right? Like, it's so much
Yeah.
fun to watch. So just
Yeah.
having him there and seeing the tactical evolution has been fun. I mean, how do you not get excited about it? Poch is the best manager we'll maybe ever have as a nation. So I'm
I've
enjoying
meant
it.
I mentioned it on the show before, Anthony, but our old colleague John Olson, that take that he had, I still
Was
think
he
about.
was anti Poch, right? Because they lost to
Yeah,
Mexico
the
or
take
something.
was, I mean, he basically was just like, Pochettino out.
I
This
thought
is
he
what
was trolling with the Pochettino out thing, but
I thought he was too. And I messaged him and he's dead serious. I was just like,
what
I,
does he think? What is
I
the
told him
case?
I messaged him and I told him that he needs to write a 10,000 word dissertation on it. That's what
Oh,
I
he
need.
would.
And he would. So, and
I mean,
I was like,
the
I'm not
case
saying you're
against
wrong.
Pochettino
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm
is
just like, this
yeah. No,
is
I'm
a
saying he's wrong. The
wild
case
take. Too
against
many.
Poch is just the case against anyone doing anything with this team.
Right.
It's
And I
not a
like that.
Poch case. It's like a if you're one of those people who thinks like all of a sudden the U.S. is going to make a run to like the semifinals or be one of the 6 best teams in the world. No, they're
No,
not.
we're not.
But look, I think the biggest thing to watch, and this isn't even about Poch, it's just that like all of these players, like the golden generation of players, all hit a wall. and you're seeing a few of them break through now. Pulisic's having like the best year he's ever had at Milan. Robinson's been one of the best players in the Premier League this year, Anthony Robinson. You talk about Fulham crossing. I mean, he's a big part of
Yep.
that. Um, Tim Tim Weah's having a good year. Weston McKennie's having a good stretch here. I mean, Pepe in the Dutch league has been awesome. Even
Hmm.
Tillman, who hasn't done anything for the national team, he's been good. Like that's the key. It doesn't even matter when they put the U.S. shirt on because that's
Hmm.
just going to be a continuation of what they're doing at the club level. So all these guys, and you even see like how many people knew who Tessman was before the other night,
Hmm.
playing in France, right? Getting minutes in France,
He
playing
was so
well.
he was so good at
I
Venezia
thought he played
last
really
year.
well. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of encouragement, and I think that everybody got a little bit of a kind of a fire lit under their ass by bringing in a guy like Pochettino. I mean, how do you not respect
Yeah.
him? So
Yeah. All right, another question. Where do you guys get the data to pull when you use your making projections? I'll tell you all the sites that I use right now. FBref is number one. Uh,
same,
Understat, the
same,
analyst from Opta,
same.
who I use who scored just for shot location data is all. And then I'm trying to think if that's markstats.club is another great one as well. So those would be the five that had come to my mind that I use pretty much almost every day. So
Yeah, I think those are the big five.
yeah.
I did find a cool thing, and they do some cool data viz stuff. You can build like rolling XG graphs. It's
Hmm.
McClatch app, MCLACH.
Okay.
It's like an online just like data source, and you
Gotcha.
can plug in comparisons for players, teams that they have. That's pretty good there. And then I don't even know how to get to it because I just have it bookmarked on my
Yeah.
browser. But the
Right.
macro football tab, which
Oh
has
yeah, yeah, yeah.
a live table, you could probably throw links in the show notes or something. But
Yeah, I could figure out how
macro
to do that.
football is a shiny app. It's just like I think a guy built.
Yeah.
And you can control for red cards, game state, home and away,
Yep.
all
You
that
can
stuff
do yeah, you
very
can do
easily, and it gives
dates.
you all the XG data and
Yep.
the goals for and against data. So that's a
Yep.
cool one, and you can take out certain results. So those are
Right.
probably the big ones I use. But for in
Yep.
terms of like the projections, it's almost exclusively FBref understat for me.
Yep. Exactly. Okay. Thoughts on and this is probably let's see if there's any more. This is probably the last one. Thoughts on the championship right now. I haven't dug too much into the English championship, but once I get this Substack started and I get back to, working and things like that, I'm gonna pay attention more to the championship. But I'm rooting for my friend Sam, who's got a big match for Plymouth Argyle this week, on Friday against Watford. It's a big home match for them. So, but yeah, this season, I mean, Leeds is really good. They'll probably win the league eventually. I mean, in terms of XG, they're completely dominating. Shout out Plymouth, man. I hope they avoid relegation for Sam's sake, but I know he knows this, but they
He's a
got the
Plymouth
worst.
fan, right?
Yeah, they got the worst expected goal differential by a mile of anybody.
Oh boy.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
Um, sorry, Sam. I didn't mean to be that mean. But yeah, typical every year is when I take a deep dive into it, I'll probably end up saying, because right now Middlesbrough has almost a plus 14 expected goal differential. I'll probably tell everybody to bet Middlesbrough to, you know, be promoted, and I probably won't. Sunderland had a really hot start to the season. I think they've kind of cooled off a little bit. But yeah, I would love to see Sunderland back in the Premier League. We need them back. Leeds would be back, would be fun too. Although Daniel Farke, man, ugh,
Nope.
no
Although, I mean,
thank
look,
you.
they're fun. And Brendan Aronson also has been cooking for them.
He has
Four
been, yeah,
goals. Another
exactly.
player like went to Union, didn't play, was weird, he was bad, and then
Yeah.
comes back to Leeds and good again. So and getting minutes for the US. So
Yeah. What is the edge worth betting? It appears, yeah. So betting your threshold can be anything, is what it is. Like for me, it's 3.5%. That's just my threshold that I like to use.
mine
But
is zero for what it's worth. I use my
yeah,
model as a starting point. I never just blindly kind of look at it because I don't trust mine as much. But I think it's like if I'm way off, I'm like, okay, why am I way off? And if I'm
yeah,
like just a little bit in one direction, that usually is a sign that like, hey, you're picking up on something you like about this team, and generally, like
mhm.
I can then color in the lines on why I like them. So that's where I get to come down.
Yeah, yeah. So I bet 2 units on Everton over Ipswich because that was just like the biggest edge I'd had all season. I used to do what is called, if you want to research it, Kelly Criterion. which is basically using a formula based on whatever edge you have to determine what your unit size is. I've used that before. I don't
Yeah.
really anymore, but just because it's kind of harder to.
It's a lot more work for not a
A
lot
lot
of
more
payoff.
work, yeah, and, just,
Sometimes.
and when you're
Like, it
giving
depends
out
on how
pick,
seriously you're taking it too.
right, and it's like if I was just doing this by myself and I wasn't giving out picks, I maybe would use that. But now that I'm, giving them out, I try to make it easy for everybody, and just do, one unit and things like that. Any winter transfer predictions? Well, it looks like Leon is going to get raided because they are in financial trouble. So, Ryan Cherky, he was going to go to Fulham, but he said he didn't want to go. Um, he would be interesting. Yeah, I Fulham. I mean, Leon's going to get rated.
Tanner Tessman.
Testament. Yeah, the
Yeah,
the January transfer window is not fun anymore because teams just aren't willing to spend the money like right in the middle of the season. I think the most expensive transfer last year in January was Dragishin to Tottenham for 25 mil. So
I forgot that was a January move.
yeah, so it's like just a
He
lot of
played
it's
like
just
four
not.
games in the second half.
I know. Yeah. So all
Yeah, I mean,
right.
there are certainly holes. I mean, City needs players,
Yeah,
but they're
they
not going to
need
get a
defensive
spend.
midfielders. I saw somebody say they should get Nogard from Brentford. They give them a little more
Christian
cover.
Norgard? I mean, really?
Christian Nogard,
Do you
yeah.
think he starts for City? Like, is he?
No, but he's
That's
he's
the
not.
problem too. Like, these big teams, they're never getting starters. Like when
Right.
Liverpool went and bought Endo, it was like, hey, we need a.
We
That wasn't
start.
even January, but it was like, hey, we need a
We need
body.
somebody right
We
this
need a
second.
body who can walk into the team.
when
Was it
when it's
January
funny,
or was it? It was fall.
and it's funny, Jurgen Klopp. It looks like you had a great defensive midfielder the whole time in Ryan Gravenberch, but you just never gave him a chance. Suddenly, Arnie Slot turns him into like the best defensive mid in the league. So. All right. So this has gone on long enough, and we've done an hour 40 here. So I'm going to end this right now. Thank you to Anthony for joining me here. This was a lot of fun. I'll be back Monday night, most likely. I'll post it on Twitter for Champions League live stream. And yeah, stay tuned to my Twitter for the launch of a Substack, and you can get all the information there. So thanks to everybody, and good luck with your bets this weekend. Okay, it's over. All right. Thanks a lot, man, for joining me.
Yeah, it was fun.